The Franciscan Abbey at Castlelyons was founded by John de Barry in 1307. There was also a Cistercian Abbey founded in Castlelyons during the 14th century. However, no trace of this abbey now remains. The architectural style of the abbey is typically Franciscan, and it is constructed mainly of limestone. It consists of a central cloister, around which is the walkway or ambulatory, where the monks would have walked in prayer. Situated around the cloister are three ranges. The west range consists of a kitchen and a refectory. It was in this range that the monks would have prepared and eaten their meals. Above these were the monks' dormitories. In the northeastern corner of this room are the remains of what would have been the night stairs, which leads from the dormitory into the ambulatory. The east range is divided into three rooms: the abbot's room, the day room, and in the centre is the chapter house, where the monks gathered to listen to a chapter of the Bible being read out every day. The abbey here in Castlelyons was dedicated to the Virgin Mary. Another fact about the abbey is that the ruins we see here today are not the original buildings. A more reliable opinion is that these ruins date from the 15th century. Opinions vary as to which order of monks lived here in this abbey in Castlelyons. The original foundation was for the Carmelites, but the Dominicans are thought to have lived here at one time. The choir has three recumbent grave slabs, one with a cross, one with insignia of a blacksmith, and a third with inscriptions bearing the date 1614. There are now 13 slabs on the floor of the choir. All are very worn, but have crosses on them, and probably vary from the 14th to the 17th century. Behind these slabs was the altar, and behind this again would have been a massive eastern window, of which no trace now remains, save a small portion of the left side. At the back of the nave to the west is the main entrance to the church, a very ornate Gothic doorway with an ogee-headed window directly above it. The abbey itself contains many ogee-headed windows, and much of the architecture is Gothic. As to the Cistercian Abbey, no remains can be found. The only thing that is known for definite about it is the fact that it too was built by a member of the Barry family of Castlelyons, at around the same time as the Franciscan Abbey was built. Soon after building the Abbey, John de Barry handed over its possession to his daughter, who was married to the first Earl of Barrymore, David. From here little is known, save that it fell into disrepair soon after the Reformation, when it was confiscated and was never inhabited again. Nowadays, the village of Castlelyons here in County Cork appears as a small, unremarkable settlement, set aside from the main roads. It is home, however, to the only extensive remains of a Carmelite Friary in Ireland. The 14th-15th century remains stand right at the crossroads of two streets, Rathcormac Lane and Main Street. It is one of two testimonies to Castlelyons' relatively important medieval past. The other is the Barrymore Castle at the other end of the village. Castlelyons was indeed founded by the Barrys, a great landowning family in the region, sometime in the 13th century. They also founded the borough of Buttevant, where the Franciscans settled around 1250. There is no record of the incorporation of Castlelyons as a borough, and if it held this status when this occurred. But despite the difference in scale and status, a look at a plan of Castlelyons presents similarities with that of medieval Buttevant, a mendicant friary with a central position by the main street and a castle at one end of the settlement. This, along with the rarity of Carmelite remains, is enough to justify a detailed and pluridisciplinary study, historical, archaeological and architectural, of the settlement and of the friary at Castlelyons. Castlelyons was originally the name of one of the two manors forming the cantred of Olathan, corresponding roughly to the northern half of the cantred. The southern half was made up by the manor of Carrituhal. It is interesting to note that it was the latter which seems to have been the chief caput of the cantred, but that the Carmelite friars did not settle there, choosing Castlelyons instead. If Castlelyons was not the caput of the Anglo-Norman cantred, it had been the caput of the over-kingdom of Ulihan, where a pre-Norman residence probably stood. When the Barrys took it over, it became a colonial settlement, where they themselves built a castle, most likely in place of that of the Ulihan. The Barrys were the major lords of the region, Philip de Barry having received the cantreds of Olathan from Robert Fitzstephen following the partition of the Kingdom of Cork between the latter and Mila de Coogan by Henry II in 1117. It is not known when the settlement of Castlelyons was formed, but there is some information about the process of foundation of the Carmelite Friary there. On the 25th of June in 1308 in Bristol, the King ordered from John Wogan, Justiciar of Ireland, and on his behalf the Sheriff of Cork, an inquiry investigating if it would be to the King's damage for John de Barry to grant lands in Castlelyons to the Carmelite friars, so that they might build their church and some houses there.